You know, when you think about railroads today, only a handful really come to mind. I'm talking about Norfolk Southern, CSX, BNSF, and Union Pacific, but there used to be a whole lot more, countless across the country and quite a few where I live here in Georgia. You know, I really miss that part of history. A lot of those railroads are now gone. They've been consolidated into bigger companies and really forgotten to time, but through historic books and photographs, there was always one that really stood out to me, and that was the Central Georgia Railway. So first, just a little bit of history. The Central Georgia Railway was founded in 1895 after a previous iteration of it went bankrupt. For most of its history, it was controlled by different companies or in receivership. Its lines stretched across Georgia and into Alabama and Tennessee. In 1963, it became a Southern Railway subsidiary, and the Southern eventually merged with Norfolk and Western to form Norfolk Southern. Today, it only really exists on paper as part of the vast Norfolk Southern system and as part of a small short line. But even though the Central of Georgia is gone now, its spirit and history still lives on in some unlikely places. Obviously, some of its infrastructure and rolling stock has been preserved, but some companies have also recognized its historical value and drawn inspiration from it. So one of the first examples is the Stone Mountain Railroad. Now, their corporate colors are completely different, but with the wings up front and the lines on the side, there's no mistaking where this design came from. Now, these locomotives didn't originally belong to the Central of Georgia, but it's really cool to see them still in action. So the next example might be a little surprising. A while back, I interviewed railroad artist Robert West, and he told me that the state patrol cars here in Georgia actually derive their colors from the Central Georgia Railway. You can actually see them side by side in one of his paintings, and looking closely at these patrol cars, the blue, orange, and gray are almost a spot-on match. And of course, one of the last examples is the Norfolk Southern Heritage Unit. I think they did a great job with this, and they really showed us what a classic livery looks like on a modern locomotive. It makes you wonder what the Central of Georgia would be like if it was still around. I obviously really like the Central of Georgia paint scheme, but my love for the railroad goes a little bit deeper than that. Several years ago, my grandmother told me I actually had a distant relative who worked for the company. I didn't know him or know what he did, but I still got a really big kick out of learning about that connection. Times have definitely changed since the end of the Central of Georgia. Much of it has faded into history, but parts of it are still around, if you know where to look.